How to live a very balanced life.
I've totally sacrificed my friendships, and I've definitely sacrificed my family. And yeah, I only get 4 to 6 hours of sleep every night.
Struggles with managing your time. How to solve issues with love, life, money, or your spiritual journey.
I can't stress to you enough. It's important to live a very balanced life.
Dani is the counterweight to give you balance.
Do you find that you're not living out your life the way you want it to?
This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We're so blessed that you decided to join us today, and I know that you are going to say the same thing when this whole show is all done. I believe that there's a blessing in today's program for you, and why? Because, you know, on this show, every day, 7 days a week, we talk about you and your success, your destiny, your makeup, and also we challenge what you've been taught about your success, your destiny, your purpose. And there is a huge hindrance out there for your success, and not just yours, but your family's. Have you noticed that our culture is completely sex saturated? So what, Dani? There's nothing we can do about it. No, there is something you can do about it. But Dani, I'm a business person. What difference does it make to me? It makes all the difference in the world. What do you want to be associated with? You see, there comes a point, now listen, in marketing, we know that sex sells. I was recently in a meeting with our with our managers, and we were talking to our gentleman, Jonathan Mills, who handles our YouTube channel. And something that he was talking about, well, Dani, you know, we are not going to use what they suggest on our thumbnails. What's a thumbnail? What do they suggest we use on my thumbnail? I'm kidding. I'm not that stupid technologically. I'm pretty challenged technologically, but I'm not that challenged. And one of the things that he pointed out was, okay, you know, unfortunately, cleavage sells very well for thumbnails on YouTube, and you're just not going to do that, you know, showing, you know, different parts of your body in the thumbnail. That's what causes people, men and women both, to be able to click on a video because it has some kind of seduction, some sex factor to it. That just like floored me when he said it. Like, seriously? So you will encounter in times of your life where you're going to have to make moral judgments, moral decisions, okay? Or where is your integrity? What level of integrity do you have? What are your ethical standards? Now, this goes for every area of your life. As a family, establish what are your moral convictions? What is your level of integrity? What kind of ethics does your family live by? What's the branding that your family lives by? And your career, who you are as an individual. You see, we are all promoting something every day. Every day we are promoting something, whether we realize it or not. And many of us are promoting things that we don't believe in, that we don't like, that we don't even want to be a part of, but we don't realize that we are actually promoting those things. And sex sells has been something that's been a marketing tactic and technique for decades and decades and decades. You've heard it, right? It's the reason why 2 out of 3 TV shows have sexual content in it. It's the reason why movies that have no reason at all. There's no point in the sex scene that's in the movie other than because that is what attracts people to the movie, right? So it could be some shoot 'em up, bang, bang kind of movie. And, you know, why is that scene with that girl? Do we really need that scene? It always makes me mad as a woman by far. And I know a lot of other women, it's like, gosh, it's disgusting. Why did you put that in there? It's so disgusting to me. And it's because, unfortunately, it sells. But you have to come to a place where you make a decision. Are you going to be like everybody else? Are you? When it comes to success, we all got a different path. And that path has to include a definition for you. What are your moral convictions? What things are you not willing to compromise on? A lot of people don't have that list, and therefore they compromise. You know, we see it. We see it with these rising stars in Disney, right? That one says, I'm going to stand for purity and virginity. Yeah, but then they find out that, gosh, they'll pay her so much more if she takes her shirt off. They will pay her so much more if she wears a shorter skirt. They will pay her so much more if she'll do a photo shoot wearing nothing besides a towel. They will make her so much more successful. And it is, hey, honey, you can have this much success if you stay on the path that you're on. If you still hold to this virginity idea, if you hold to this modesty idea, this is how far we can take you. However, if you decide to just wear this shirt, just wear this little skirt, and just think about it. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. So just think about it. Everybody else is doing it. This is what the market wants. They want to see your cleavage. They want to see your beautiful legs. They want to embrace more of who you are. This is what they want. So, and you have this beauty. You have it for a reason. So you'll be more successful and you'll reach more people with your music, or you'll reach more people with your books, or you'll reach more people with your movies. You'll have so many more opportunities that'll open up to you if you show yourself. It's the same for business, right? So there I am in this meeting and I'm being told that, hey, well, their videos do well on this because, they're showing cleavage. I'm like, not going to happen. Now, sometimes, it's never a purposeful thing for me. And I do have people that watch that for me because I happen to have been built a little different than some. And, the cleavage starts at my collarbone sometimes. So that's just how that is. But never intentionally wanting to be seen in that way or to be perceived in the way sexually. And so I want to talk to you and I want to challenge you today, because you will face on this journey of reaching your destiny, you will face on this journey on your path to success where you're going to be asked to compromise some things. And your compromises and my compromises might be totally different. And I am not one to judge because I'm telling you, this girl was a disgusting mess when I first entered the business world. And I mean a disgusting mess. You don't even want to know the things that I did that are really bad, really disgusting, that I'm ashamed of today. That, oh gosh, if I could do things differently, I definitely would not have done that. I definitely wouldn't have wore that on that stage. I definitely would, oh gosh, I know. Wow. Okay. But hindsight is always 20/20. But compromise is always going to come to you. You're going to face having to make compromises somewhere. So if you don't identify for you, what does success look like for you? Then you're going to make moral compromises that you will regret. That you'll look back and say, oh my gosh, why did I ever do that? We all have things in our life that we say that about right now. So let's use today's show to identify what some of those compromises are. And we're going to talk about this inundated society that is oversexed. Check out these statistics. Okay, first of all, I already gave you one. 2 in 3 TV shows contain sexual content. And you're allowing your kids to watch this. Their little minds are being sexualized way earlier than it should be. We have cartoons on TV now that are fully sexual. Video games that you put your 5-year-old little boy in front of that has a girl that's wearing Daisy Duke little short shorts and she's wearing a crop top and she's got, a bust line that's 42 and a waistline that's 21 and hips that are 36. This is not a real picture of a real woman, and yet there she is bent over with her machine gun shooting at something, and you're allowing your little boy to see this thinking it's not going to have an impact. Check this out. Porn sites get more visitors each month, more than Netflix, Amazon, and Twitter all combined. Porn sites. You see, we have compromised our children. We've compromised values, thinking, well, they're going to see it all eventually anyway. But the reality is what is it doing to them internally? And then where is it taking? What road is it taking them to? What destiny is it drawing them to? We have more kids addicted to pornography today than we've ever had, ever. It's so easy for them to find it on the internet. It's so easy for them to find it on your smartphone. And trust me, they have found it on your smartphone. My kids found it on my smartphone. So in fact, they say the statistics are that 95% of all kids on the internet have been exposed to pornography. So you see it everywhere you go, right? You're at the grocery store. And you might be there with your spouse and your kids, and you're about to go through the checkout. Have you ever noticed that those checkout sections have gotten really long? Really, really long. Both sides of it are selling you something. On the right side, you're being sold candy and junk food. On the left side, you're being sold sex. Why is it that they don't have good housekeeping on that magazine rack that's at the checkout line? Have you ever noticed that? No, it's not good housekeeping there. What is it? It's In Shape, Men's Health, all with women plastered, showing more than half of their body, always with some seductive pose that is on the cover of that thing. What do you do when you pull up to that? I'll tell you what I do. I told my kids, especially and when they were little, I said, hey, guys, we're about to check out, and what we're about to encounter in that checkout line is a bunch of inappropriate pictures that are not worthy of your eyes. Your eyes are pure, and your eyes have a standard. And so to protect your eyes, I'm going to go through and I'm going to turn around these magazines that are inappropriate for you to look at. Anytime you see a woman that kind of makes you feel funny inside on the cover of something, you want to turn your eyes away immediately. Because that woman on that cover of that magazine is there to draw you in and to draw your mind into places that will harm your life and not help your life. So I turned those over. And anytime that we'd be driving, it made me so mad. I remember in Dallas, Texas. In Dallas, Texas, we landed, and, Dallas, Texas, you would think is supposed to be, Texas, a family state, right? With strong family moral convictions, right? In the Bible Belt, right? Yeah, minutes from the airport. There we are in the rental vehicle. And on the right-hand side, a gigantic billboard, not one but many, of a seductive woman with her lack of clothing and this incredibly appropriate look in her eyes, and it says Gentlemen's Club. Next right. All these websites are being promoted. Women in lingerie. So as soon as my eyes caught it right away, I turned around. I said, boys, look in my eyes right now. Erica, look in my eyes right now. I said, remember, your eyes are pure. And they have to remain that way, which means that we have to turn our eyes away from anything that is not appropriate. I want you to simply look down right now. And they did. So I did my best to protect my kids' eyes from that which is absolutely compromising in my personal opinion. I grew up in a home where there was pornography. I was molested as a direct result of it. That perversion that entered me, I struggled with, being a seductive, lustful young girl who ended up pregnant at 17. Come on. I slept with too many people from 17 to 21. Too many. It's disgusting. And why? Trying to live up to the imaging that I had seen in movies, on magazines, billboards, trying to live up to that life so that somehow I'd be wanted. Oh, I was wanted, but certainly not in the way that I needed to be wanted. You might think I'm a prude, but we're going to talk about this today. Sex sells. What is it really selling you? And is it really worth it? This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
You can't be the old person you used to be and the new person you want to become. Let go of the past and hang on for what's new and exciting and about to come into your life. Stay tuned to The Dani Johnson Show. There's more to come.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
We're back. Here's Dani Johnson.
Sex sells. You've heard that, right? Marketing campaigns are all ran around it. Come on, why in the world do we have the Doritos commercial with the girl with short shorts and lots of cleavage, throwing a Dorito at a guy? Why is she in there? Is that what sells Doritos? No, it's because sex sells anything. And everybody is marketing it. And here's what's sad. If you're a business person, you have to make a decision. Am I going to compromise my personal values just to sell more product? Am I going to compromise who I am as a person? Am I going to compromise my ethics, my integrity, my morals, just so I can sell more? You might be one right now that might be selling sex and you might not even know it. How do you know? I don't know. Look at the way that you might be dressing. Look at the things that you have inside of your home. Look at the movies that you're watching with your kids. That makes me sick to my stomach. It really does. Yeah. Look at the standard in which that you have. Is it okay for your 13-year-old to watch a sex scene in a movie that's a movie that has, Daniel Craig in it? Is it okay for your son or daughter to watch a woman undressing in a movie? Now, listen, you might be looking at me right now saying, Dani, you're such a prude. Okay, yeah, you're right. I am. Why? Because I already went down that road. I already lived that life, and that life sucked. I paid a high price for it. It took a long time, a lot of counseling, a lot of deliverance to get free from that life in which I was sold to be, that's what success looks like. That's not what success looks like at all. That's what pain looks like. That's what pleasure looks like that brings you to pain. That's what suffering looks like. That's what marriages that are broken looks like. Now, listen, I'd love to hear your opinion on this topic. 844-200-3264. Again, that's 844-200-3264. If I'm a prude, call me out. If you think that there's no problem with how sex is being used all over marketing, all over movies, all over music, all over books, all over magazines, all over the cartoons, the video games in which we're submitting our kids to, then I want you to tell me why you think it's a good idea that sex is what's being used for all of these things. But if you're one who says, I will not compromise my ethics, I will not compromise my morals, I will not compromise my integrity, I don't care if I have a smaller business, I don't care if I have a smaller reputation, I don't care if my product is not number one, I am not going to use sex to sell my vitamin. I'm not going to use sex to sell my travel services. I'm not going to use sex to sell whatever it is that it is you're marketing. And I got to tell you something. At the end of the day, the one who has high ethics and high integrity, that person at the end of the day sleeps better at night. That person is not bought by what the market is saying that they need. That person is somebody who actually has real success. Why? Because if you're just following the way of the masses and you're compromising what really matters to you just for money, just to be number one, just to be bigger, just to be greater, you know you're not happy. You know you're not happy. You know it. And if you say you are, you're lying through your teeth and you know it. You're tormented. That's why you've got the antidepressants. You're tormented, which is why you and your wife can't get along. You're tormented. You got bad health. All this stuff equates into something, trust me. And it doesn't lead to happiness. It does not lead to success. I believe you can have it all if you're willing to define what does success look like for you and what are you not willing to compromise. You have to come up with what you're not willing to compromise. So we've got the phone lines all lit up. We've got line 5. We've got Vanessa from Nashville, Tennessee. Vanessa, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, Dani.
Hi. So, sex sells. Is it okay? I mean, I should be, I guess on my show I should be having lots of cleavage. Shoot, bring me a bikini top. Let's go for it.
I mean, Dani, I'm a film director, and so I've really had the opportunity of being around this culture that people talk about so much, the Hollywood culture. In fact, I've even worked on a Bollywood project, so I've even been able to see how that plays out in film and music, even in the East.
Wow.
And really, it's something that I've been able to see up close, is what does that look like in the lives of people who are,
yes,
who are actually living that lifestyle, who are turning up in the tabloids and on Perez Hilton, and that we kind of fantasize about. And what I can tell you is some of the most heartbreaking stories that I've seen come out of lives of people who, the masses are lusting over and thinking that this is so glamorous. The reality is that whether we are famous or not, that life of depravity only leads to one thing. It leads to brokenness and death. And unfortunately, I think a lot of the time when people don't see the ugly, the dark side of Hollywood, they don't see those consequences in the same way that they see in their own lives. But, I'm definitely someone who can stand up and make testament for the fact that the consequences exist, whether we're seeing them or not, whether they're covered up by seeming glamour or not.
That's right.
Consequences are going to be there.
They are, and we see them, when the stories come out of, the overdoses, right, that are happened by their kids or by themselves, or the alcohol problem, all that stuff. The bottom line is that sex does sell something. It sells destruction, period. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Hey, have you done a favor for your best friend yet? Then do it now. Share this program with them. The Dani Johnson Show, helping hundreds of thousands of people just like you make life more enjoyable and rewarding. The Dani Johnson Show.
I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, Do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job Domination. That's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
Now, more of the Dani Johnson Show.
My friend, you're gonna face decisions in your life that you're either gonna make a compromise or you're gonna hold your ground. And I'm telling you today that if you wanna have success, and if you wanna have long-lasting success, and you wanna have peace of mind and sleep well at night, knowing that you're a good person, that you've done the right thing, then you are gonna have to spit in the face of compromise and stand for what is right, noble, good, and pure. You're gonna have to make decisions throughout your life to protect your family, to protect your finances, to protect your business and your career. You're also going to have to define for yourself, what do you stand for? And if you don't make a decision of what you stand for, you're going to fall for everything else that everyone else in this world falls for. You're going to fall under that wonderful classification of marketing products using sex, using sexy appeals, using women in a totally degraded way to try to sell your Doritos or to sell your car or to sell your movie. Is that who you really want to be? Because at the end of the day, everything has a price. And for me personally, I made up my mind a long time ago that I will not compromise specific levels of integrity. I will not compromise specific areas of ethics, and I would not be bought. That if somebody wants to tell me that if I dress a certain way, then I'll be accepted by this whole group of people. Here's what I say to those people. You can't hear that if you're listening on the radio, but you certainly could see it if you were seeing it on video. Forget you, buddy, is what it is. I will not compromise. And you will face compromise. Even if you're in ministry, you will be facing compromises. Yeah, if you're in full-time ministry, you're going to be hit on by evangelists like I've been hit on by evangelists. You're going to be hit on by pastors who are going to tell you that God told you that you were supposed to be their wife. It happens. The church is not clean from this compromise. The business world is not clean from this compromise. Families are not clean from this compromise. The bottom line is who are you? What do you stand up for? And what level of ethics and integrity do you have? And you will not ever become more successful all the way around, holistically successful, if you make compromises just to sell more, to be more popular, and to have more followers. It's not worth it. So, I want to hear your opinion on that. We know that sex sells. Is it worth it? I don't know. I don't think so. Jerry from Memphis, tell me, what are your thoughts concerning this sexual, overly sexed culture that we live in that is using sex to get money out of your pocket?
Well, I don't like it when sex takes money out of my pocket. I'd like to preface everything by saying that I want to cheerlead you, Dani. You go ahead and be a prude, and I will stand right there with you and take all the slings and barbs that the evil one wants to throw at us. Well done. For me, I got to the point where I had to look away when I saw a woman that was attractive and dressed more minimally than she should have been.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where I was doing that very regularly. And I faced, actually, a situation not too long ago. I was a truck driver, and we had to get a truck from Fort Wayne, Indiana, down to Jackson, Tennessee. And my boss approached me and said, will you ride with our operations manager, a very attractive lady? And I said, I can't do that. He said, why? I said, I'll say something. I can't be alone with her. She appeals to me. Yeah. And I'm just being blunt straight with you.
Wow.
And, you know, he respected me for that.
Wow.
Sent another driver, and I ran into her when we were in Fort Wayne, and her and another lady and I all went to lunch, and I told her, I said, look, that's the deal. I just couldn't do it, and she appreciated that.
Wow. Wow. That's
The
awesome.
other thing that I wanted to say is we regularly watch our 9-year-old daughter, our 9-year-old neighbor girl. She's almost my daughter. And I'm real careful about what she sees on TV, some of these cartoons and stuff. And I'm like, honey, you're too young to be watching that.
Yep.
You don't need to be looking at stuff like that.
Well, and what age can somebody look at that, honestly? And at what age should somebody look at that? Really?
Right.
What does it benefit me? If I'm a 45-year-old woman, what does it benefit me looking at women doing that? How does that benefit me? Is that good for my soul? Is it good for my self-image? Is it good for my mind?
Right.
How does it help me to succeed in life and feeding orphans? How does watching that chick walk and talk like that help me go and take care of the homeless? It doesn't. How does it help me help my clients? It doesn't. If anything, it confuses my mind and it points out, Dani, you're 45. You're not 25. Oh, you're sweet.
At 45, Dani, you're really rocking it.
That's really sweet of you.
You just keep right on trucking, sister.
Thank you. Thank you so much, by the way, for taking a stand on that and being a man that knows that you got to turn your eyes away from inappropriately dressed females, and that you knew in your gut, like, I should not be alone in a truck for hours at a time with a gorgeous woman. I shouldn't do that. It's not right to do that for my wife. It's not right for it to do for me. And I'm proud of you that you had the guts. You had the guts to say to your boss, I'm sorry, I can't transport her. You could have faced being fired. You could have faced being judged, but you were honest and upfront with it. And a lot of people won't step up and say, no, I cannot do that, because they're afraid of how they'll be perceived. They're afraid of what people will think. They're afraid they might lose their job. Don't be afraid. Stand for what is right. Stand for what is noble. Stand for what is good and pure. If you want long-lasting success, you've got to make a decision to be a person of integrity, and only you can decide what integrity looks like for you. I can't tell you what integrity looks like for you, but you can decide it for yourself, and I hope that you have a good gauge of what that looks like. It's the same reason that I will not be alone with a man. No, I will not. I have tons of male clients. I will not be alone with a man. I will have, when I'm meeting with clients, I will have another female with me or another man and woman with me, so that now we are a group, because we are not going to get in a situation where we are alone. Why? Is it because I don't trust myself? Listen, I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how holy you are. It is not wise. It is just not wise for you to be in a situation where you can be compromised or even have the appearance of being compromised. You should be protected. Protect your honor. Protect the honor of the other person. Don't put yourself in a situation where you can't be compromised. Jerry, thanks so much. I appreciate you so much. We've got Jenny from Clarksville, Tennessee. Tennessee is in the house tonight, man. That's the third caller from Tennessee. Welcome to the show. Hi, Jenny.
Yes. Hello.
Yeah. Hi.
How are you?
Good. So tell me what your opinion is concerning all this sex that's being sold to our kids and what we should do about it. Or am I just a prude and I think, that I am totally stupid and I live in the dark ages and,
No.
I should wear a muumuu.
Just the opposite. Just the opposite. I've always kept in mind, as my children were growing up, what they were watching. And I'd always talk to them about what's the purpose of what they're watching and what it's teaching them.
Yep.
What's the bottom line.
Yep.
And so if I didn't think it was appropriate, off it went. This is before I started listening to Dani Johnson. Now, I don't have the television on. But anyway.
Nice. I don't think there's much good coming out of it in most cases. I think most of the stuff that we're being sold, man, especially during all the sports events that are taking place, come on. We're talking sports.
I know.
What is the whole purpose? Yes, right? In every commercial is selling kind of sex. Every single commercial is some kind of seduction in it. Does it work? Yes. Is that how you want to live? It's not how I want to live. That's the bottom line. I'm proud of you, Jenny, for being somebody that actually cared about your kids and you censored what your kids saw. I think it is wise to be censoring what your kids see, because if you're not inside of their head, you cannot help them discern what is wise. You can't help them discern what is foolish. You can't help them discern what is right or what is wrong. We need to be the parents here, and we have got to be the people that say, listen, your eyes were made for purity. They were not made to embrace something that is not pure. We want to help to protect you, protect your mind as your mind is growing and developing. And so I love it when I encounter parents that are actually awake. Gosh, man. Oh, I remember a couple of years ago, I don't know if you remember this 4-year-old that was pole dancing and the parents were cheering it on. Oh my gosh. This thing went viral all over Facebook and all over YouTube. And I was so mortified where I'm like, she's a 4-year-old. And first of all, she's wearing a little crop shirt, little bikini top, little bikini bottoms. She's all painted up. Her face is painted like a little hussy. Gosh, and this is what we're doing to our 4-year-old, and this girl can bump and grind, and she's doing it to a I can't remember, Beyonce song, and she's singing along with the song, and she's singing these words that are so disgusting for a 4-year-old. Talk about robbing a 4-year-old of her innocence, as she is moving her hips and shimmying her shoulders and very seductively dancing, and mom and dad are videotaping this, and everyone's cheering this kid on. Who have we become? Is that success? What world are you living in? I know this. If those parents keep that kid on that track, they're going to have a future of brokenness. They have a great chance of great brokenness inside of the next 10 years. Yeah. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
The Dani Johnson Show. In a world of broken promises, we're here to help you through life. The Dani Johnson Show. No excuses, no blaming, just real life. Stay tuned for more of The Dani Johnson Show.
You want to succeed, right? But you do not want to fail God at the same time. There is a way to succeed from a biblical perspective. And it's far greater than anything you could ever imagine. Over 500 scriptures I studied to study money, everything that the Bible said about money. That's in the first couple chapters of Spirit-Driven Success. Not to mention leadership, working with people, growing a career, being used mightily in the marketplace, which is where Abraham, God used him in the marketplace. And Joseph, God used him in the marketplace. Moses, God used him in the marketplace. Daniel, Solomon, really all of the greats of faith, most of the greats of faith throughout the Bible, they all were in the marketplace, and God wants to show you how you can be used mightily by him in the marketplace. Right here, Spirit-Driven Success is where all of my notes are on how you can do that. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Spirit-Driven Success today.
Get ready to live the uncommon life. Here's Dani Johnson.
1 in 4 teenagers, 1 in 4 teenage girls have at least one STD. What? Teenagers? Really? Oh, Dani, it's just the world we live in. It's just the way it is. You just got to accept it. I refuse. I absolutely refuse to accept it. And I refuse to keep my mouth shut about it. Because when it comes to succeeding in life, you have to be one that stands for something. And if you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for nothing. And if you seem to think that this over-sexualized culture is not a problem, you have fallen, friend. You have fallen for absolutely nothing. If you want to succeed in business, finance, with your family, in your community, then you got to be one that has some kind of ethics, some kind of integrity, some kind of moral standards. No, I don't. Dani, look at Hollywood. They don't have any moral standards. They don't have any integrity. It's a dog-eat-dog world in there, And let's look at their lives. Do you really want their life? Do you call that success? Because they live in a $15 million mansion, you think that's success? Really? You've been sold a lie, a facade, vapor. That is not success. It's those same people that are on drugs, the same people that are dealing with bad marriages, the same thing that their kids are on drugs. They're dealing with all of this terrible, terrifying, tormenting issues, and we look at their $15 million mansion and go, well, that's successful. You know? They got something going right. You want to live in that $15 million mansion alone? Miserable? With no peace? That's not success. I believe that you can be a person of integrity. And by the way, for me personally, this is where it's at. There are things I will not compromise. What are the things you won't compromise? Do you even know? Do you even know? What are the things that you won't compromise? Come on, tell me. Do you even know? Or maybe you don't know. And if you don't have a list of things that you won't compromise, guess what? you'll compromise all things. No, I won't. Oh, yes, you will. Trust me. Compromise is always knocking on the door, and it's easy to overcome those who have no integrity. It's easy to overcome those who have no list of things that they stand for. What do you stand for? If you want to be successful financially, what do you stand for? Don't be afraid to stand for what's right. Don't be afraid to stand for your moral convictions. Don't be afraid to stand against the rest of the popular masses' opinions. You got to stand for something. Otherwise, you're just like everybody else. And we don't need another everybody else. We need people who are going to stand. So you might totally disagree with me. You might think I'm a total prude. That's fine. But I'd love to get your opinion on about what you think about this over-sexed society. What is it doing to the next generation? And what does our future look like when we've got parents videotaping their 4-year-olds wearing barely any clothes, dancing to Beyonce, singing it, and moving her hips in that circular motion that only a wife in her master bedroom with her husband should be moving her hips. Call me a prude, I don't care. Isabel from Los Angeles, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, Dani. Thank you for having me. Wow, yeah, I mean, it's very evident. Even, I'm 30 years old, and I remember as a kid, my poor single mom, she did the best she could. She, let us watch things like Jenny Jones and these other talk shows back in the day with these, just like trying to think she'd scare us straight, and we want to be like that. Well, again, it was sowing seeds into a 10-year-old's mind, 8-year-old's mind. About people selling themselves to sugar daddies and dressing promiscuous to show everyone they're wrong and blah, blah, blah. And then, that's just one aspect of media.
Yep.
Feeding us the sex, that being a sex object and being sexy and showing tons of cleavage is normal.
Yeah.
And, I've had to go through my own healing and recovery from not only abuse I've experienced and being a product of a single mother, single parent household. I myself thought I had to get value and move ahead and get the things that showed success, like cute, designer purses and trips and God knows what by sleeping around with men or being with men. And I had to learn from my past and see that what the society feeds us is an incubator.
Yep.
To these young women just being seen as sex objects, just used and tossed. And I've even worked with ministries where we reach out to women in the sex industry and show them that they're loved, valued, and purposed, because these young women are, again, unfortunately, products of that same incubator with an oversexed media, with them experiencing some sort of abuse. Because there are many statistics on young women who are abused before the age of 18.
Mm-hmm.
And then whether, they're trying to get ahead from, feel like they have no other choice to make money, or they're forced in by a boyfriend because they don't know what true love is.
Yep.
They sell themselves, and then they feel like they're trapped. They can't get out.
Isabel, I have a question for you. So you said that you were one of those kids that, mom allowed you to watch these talk shows where there was a lot of talk about sex and a lot of talk about promiscuity and all of this stuff. And this was planting ideas in your head when you were young. And then that took you then to this place of you were a very promiscuous teenager. Now, I got a question for you. You slept around with a lot of men. At the time when you were sleeping around with the men, and you were trying to find love in all the wrong places and trying to find acceptance in all the wrong places, how did it make you feel in that season of your life while you were doing that?
You know what? To be honest, I thought, my virginity, my innocence was taken away from me at such a young age. What am I waiting for? I might as well get what's mine now and try to feel that sense of power by feeling like I'm getting what I want now out of men, when honestly I was just using myself more and more.
Yeah.
And I wanted that attention. I wanted to be, sought after, and I feel like that gave me a sense of power. And I mean, honestly, in certain situations that I'm not even going to talk about right now, it did, but it was very fleeting. And I even remember God speaking to me at those lowest pits, just realizing that what would happen if He was there with me at that time. So I know He has even had to reach out to me in those lowest of lows when I'm fooling myself into being in these situations and knowing that this isn't right.
Yeah. Yeah. So at the time you said it was empowering, right? You thought it was a form of power, that you could use sex as power over a man. But at the end of the day, you didn't feel very powerful.
Oh, no. I was, used more so than anything, and I think it was just naivety as a teenager, as a young adult, thinking I could do what I want and get what I want, and it's just like...
It turns out that it isn't really what you wanted.
No.
That's the reality.
Not at all.
That's the reality. And so the media is so powerful with its constant imagery, especially concerning sex. The media uses sex to sell Doritos, to sell a Coke. The media uses sex to sell movies, music, books, magazines, products, shirts, towels, sheets, you name it, shoes. They use sex to sell it all. We're buying it. But what are we really getting? Is it the shoes? Is it the sheets? Is it the towels? No. On the other side of all of that, there's a lot of pain and suffering. There is. We really got to step up and be wise. You got to define what success is for you. Because if you do not define what success is for you, you're going to fall into somebody else's pitch of success, which is covered in sex. I'll tell you, I bought that thing. I even sold that thing. There's a lot of pain involved with that thing. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Good people bring out the good in people. And you're sharing great moments with thousands of good people right now. There's more of the Dani Johnson Show coming up. Stay here.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
How to live a very balanced life.
I've totally sacrificed my friendships, and I've definitely sacrificed my family. And yeah, I only get 4 to 6 hours of sleep every night.
Struggles with managing your time. How to solve issues with love, life, money, or your spiritual journey.
I can't stress to you enough, it's important to live a very balanced life.
Dani is the counterweight to give you balance.
Do you find that you're not living out your life the way you want it to?
This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Welcome to Hour 2 of the Dani Johnson Show. Hey, are you one of them sexaholics? You're like, what? You might be and not even know it. No, Dani, I am not. Really? You've been subjected to a whole lot of sexual advertisements. Every day, all day long, man, seduction is just flowing through the air. Everybody's doing it. Come on, why not you? We live in a world that uses sex to sell potato chips. Kind of sick, don't you think? We live in a world that uses sex to sell paper towels. Ugh. Really? Cleaning products. Pantyhose. Shoes. Towels. It's disgusting. Sports. Cars. Houses. Sex is used to sell just about everything. And as a business person, as a human being on this planet, you have to make a choice. What is your level of integrity? What about your ethics? What are your moral standards? Do you have any? What areas are you compromising in? You see, here on the Dani Johnson Show, every day we talk about success and defining it, or in some cases redefining it, because we have been sold a picture of what success looks like. And your little girls and your little boys, and when you were a little girl and a little boy, you were sold what success looked like. You see, we see Hollywood selling us that success looks like a $25 million mansion or $100 million mansion. And yes, and how do we get that mansion? Show some cleavage, honey. Show some long legs, honey. Show yourself. Take your shirt off in a movie. Oh, why don't you just slaughter yourself all over somebody else's husband? Your husband won't mind. Oh, that's disgusting. But here's the reality. These are compromises that you and I will face. Dani, I'm not an actress. I'm not going to face that compromise. Shut up, fool. You will face that compromise at your office. You will face that compromise on Facebook. You will face that compromise on the internet. You do face the compromises of being overly sexed and marketed to through sex. You do face these compromises when you're flirting with your boss. We are inundated with sexual images all the time. We're buying into the advertising for sex. And gee, gosh, I wonder why it is that there's so much infidelity in marriages today. Huh? How did that happen? And how in the world has the teen pregnancy rates increased? Not sure. Oh, and wait a second. How in the world is it that 1 in 4 teenage girls have at least one STD? Gee, it must just be a fluke. It ain't no fluke. Sex sells. And if we live in a world that is buying Doritos because of a sexy model that is selling them to us, this is disgusting. I didn't buy Doritos from a sexy model. Yes, you did, you fool. It's in the commercials. It's in the commercials. We are using women as objects to sell products. Disgusting. And we're buying them. We are. And we're selling them to our kids, too. Call me a prude. Call me now, 844-200-3264. 844-200-3264. What do you think about this oversex society that we live in? Well, there's nothing I can do about it. It's no big deal. Okay, well, then you just go ahead and stay there, and let's see how successful you really do become. And is the success you have really the success you want? I know as a business person, I am faced with making compromises, and I have to make up my mind. What do I stand for? What are my ethics? Where is my integrity? And what things will I not compromise in? If you want to succeed, and I'm talking about holistic success, full-rounded success, balanced success, meaning you can sleep at night. Yes, yes, that you know you're doing good in the world, that you know that your mouth is being used for something good in the world, that it's not just all about you and your pleasures, especially your sexual pleasures. Now, listen, this is not about suppressing your sex life. If you are married, you better go for it with all you got. Do you hear me? If you're not married, you might want to wait until you are married and then give it all you got and go for it. I don't care 5-6 times a day. Go for it. 7 days a week. 20 days a week. You go for it, man. Sex was designed for marriage. Sex was designed between two people who have made a commitment to each other, to walk with each other even when they don't agree with each other. They've made a commitment to walk through hard times, good times, riches and poor. They've made a commitment until death do us part. That is the place for all the sex you want. But not outside of that. Outside of that creates all kinds of problems. Lots of them. We pay lots of money to buy products where sex is being used to sell us. Line 3, we've got Brad from Canada. Brad, what do you think about this oversex society? And is it really hurting us, or is it really no big deal?
No, I absolutely think it's hurting us. I know, actually, I'd probably say most of the people I know and most of the people I talk to have been hurt in some way by it. I really, you're one of the only places I've ever heard who treats sex and their family the way you do. You talk to your kids about it being good in marriage and not outside. But we just heard from the young woman from L.A. who was talking about how it was just a part of her life.
Yeah.
And so it was easy to go outside and make it a part of her life there.
Yep.
And I came from the opposite, where it was not talked about. Everything was censored, but for no reason. And it made trying to find success outside the home super attractive.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of pain in trying to do that.
Tell me how, Brad. So how was you being, in this very sexualized culture that we live in? It's in Canada, it's in the U.S., it's all over Europe, it's all over the world. We're in this overly sexualized culture. How did it affect you as a man? Because here you said, okay, mom and dad never talked healthy about sex, what sex is for, right? It's not just for making babies. It's for pleasure for mom and dad. It's part of marriage. It's awesome in marriage. Outside of marriage, it's complicated. It's messy. It includes diseases and pregnancies you were not expecting by somebody you don't even know his name. Oh, that's really, really bad. I'm serious. I'm blown away at the grace of my God, because I could have had a whole lot of babies by a bunch of people I can't remember their names, but that's who I was. So how did it affect you? Because you said because it wasn't talked about, but again, you're being tempted by all sides, right? And it's a taboo to talk about sex at home, or your parents aren't educating you about it. So how did that affect you, right? You said you went looking for it other places. How did it hurt you?
I would say your word compromise is pretty accurate, because, you stick a toe in whether it's, borrowing movies from friends, you wouldn't be allowed to watch at home and watching them when your parents are out. I mean, I did a lot of that, to all of a sudden having access to the computers at school, to going to find pornography, to it's just one more compromise after another compromise to eventually, bad, inappropriate relationships, whether it was over MSN Messenger, which was popular at the time, or over the phone, to, seeking out anybody who was willing, trying to get more and more, because the little piece didn't satisfy anymore, and ending with, a failed marriage. It gets bigger and bigger to the point that it destroys you, and you're never happy on the way there. I never found it that way, and I haven't talked to too many other people who found it that way either.
Yeah. It's so seductive, isn't it? This yearning for more, more, more. And again, sex is healthy in the marriage. Well, it's supposed to be healthy in the marriage. I mean, I did a show recently about sexual abuse in marriage, and that usually largely comes from people who have been involved in pornography, people who had been sexually abused and hadn't been healed. So then now the marriage bed has been defiled with sexual abuse versus it being pure and beautiful and awesome and a wonderful exercise program. But a great exercise program. Keeps everything where it sort of belongs. But anyway, Brett, I really appreciate your transparency. I think the word compromise is right. And here's what's interesting. I'm just going to say this. I know I'm going to get in trouble, but I'm going to say it. I have found with my clients that some of them in which I've done a lot of business consulting with, a lot of coaching with, that those who had a little hidden life sexually, whether they were in an adulterous relationship or they were addicted to pornography, those who were addicted to flirting with other married people while they were married, man, these business clients would be doing everything right in business, but there was like a dam set up on their business, meaning it would not budge. It wouldn't budge. Their finances would not grow. No matter what strategy they used, no matter what technique they used that worked for thousands of other people, it would not work for them. And when I got to the root of it, where it had been exposed, now hold on a second, there's some compromise somewhere in your life. Because where you compromise, it eventually is going to affect all areas of your life. You see, some people say, Dani, hey, I can live my personal life whichever way I want to live my personal life. I live my business life a totally different way. Sorry, fool, you're the same person. You're the same person. And if you have compromises in your personal life, especially in the areas of sex, you're compromising with flirting with people you shouldn't be flirting with. You are compromising with pornography. It will affect the compromises you make in business. And sure enough, those that had the courage to come clean, that they came clean with, yes, I'm in an adulterous relationship, or yes, I am addicted to pornography. As soon as we clean those messes up, all of a sudden the business starts to flourish. It's amazing. There are some people that are not going to get the dream job because of compromises in their life. And they think that it's not related. It's completely related. We reap what we sow. And Brad, I'm really proud of you that you are a man, number one, humble enough to call in on this show. Number two, humble enough to tell the truth. And to say, shout out to the parents. Talk to your kids about sex and what it is for and the boundaries of where it is for. Because if you don't and you keep hush-hush, your kids are being over-sexualized outside of that home. They're already having those conversations in the 3rd grade with the kids on the playground. It makes the kid curious. They start going and finding ways to have that curiosity solved, and it's one compromise after another, and compromise becomes a habit, and now we stand for nothing. And Brad, as you said, it ended up in a failed marriage for you. Thank you so much. You're obviously not that same guy. You're obviously one that has a totally different mindset about sex today. You're obviously someone who walked away from that way of living, and I'm sure that you've had some success as a direct result of it. So tell me, you have changed those areas in your life, so what does the life look like now? After the failed marriage and after the failed finances?
It is a lot happier, that's for sure. And I have an awesome marriage now. So
wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
It does turn around. It can turn around.
It can. It's all about choices and shoring up the compromises. God bless you. Congratulations. I'm proud of you. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more of the Dani Johnson Show. Listen, I want you to analyze your life. Where are you compromising? Shore up the compromises and get ready for a big blessing. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue after this.
No matter what you think, feel, or imagine, if you want to make things right in your own life, you have to focus and believe. Stay tuned for helpful advice on life and more on The Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. The most common question I get usually are from people who are trying to juggle their life. They've got kids. They've got kids who are involved in all kinds of activities. They've got business or their job, finances, trying to get out of debt, plus all their church activities and all the volunteer activities. And they're pulling their hair out going, how do I juggle this all? Man, I once lived just like that until I learned Time Secrets. Time Secrets showed me how to be able to cut my hours from 100 hours a week that I was working down to 20 hours a week and tripled my income as a direct result with what I learned. Time Secrets also showed me how to get my priorities in order, which healed up my marriage. And I became a mother that I was proud of versus becoming the mother I didn't want to be. And so if you feel like your world is running around in all kinds of different circles, you can fix that. Call 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880 for Time Secrets.
Now, more of The Dani Johnson Show.
Sex is the most wonderful thing in the world if God is in it, says Billy Graham. Oh, can you believe that? I have to read you the rest of this quote. So he says, sex is the most wonderful thing on this earth as long as God is in it. Whoa, wait a second. Billy Graham. Okay? He says, when the devil gets in it, it's the most terrible thing on this earth. I have to say, I completely agree with him. But man, when I saw that it was Billy Graham's quote, I'm like, oh, it's kind of like thinking about your parents. Anyway, forget it. I'm not going to go there. We're talking about sex selling today. Companies use sex to sell you everything under the sun. Now, is that a tactic that you want to use as a business person? Is it a tactic you want to use to get a job? Is it a tactic that you want to use to get married? Oh, come on. We've all tried it. We have. We've all tried using sex to sell something before. But I promise you, it comes with a price. And I think you know that it comes with a price. And one of the prices is the price that our kids are going to pay. Yeah, this oversexed world that we live in, they're being inundated by images and all the commercials, the cartoons, yes, the magazines that are at the grocery store as you're checking out. The movies that you're allowing them to watch, the sitcoms on Disney that you're allowing to watch that are also filled with sex and bad attitudes. And yet we can't figure out why our kids are having sex young, having babies as teenagers. Gee, I don't know. Could it be that we have television shows that are about that, about teenagers having babies, and we're making these people celebrities that are doing this? Dani, you're so judgmental. No, I'm not. I was the teen pregnancy. I was the kid that was having way too much sex. I've had sex with more people than I even want to share with you on this show because you're judgmental. I'll share it at a First Steps to Success when I'm with my business clients. I have no problem, but you're the judgmental one judging me. Here's the facts. We live in an overly sexed society. It is affecting you. It is affecting your mind. It is affecting your marriage. It is affecting your business. It is affecting your kids. And if you think it's not, your head is in the sand. Pull your head out, friend, because you have got to learn to set up moral standards, integrity standards, ethics standards. You've got to learn to have standards for places that you will not compromise. And unfortunately, you're going to face compromise. People are going to tell you that you're going to have to compromise these things in order to have success. That's not true success. It's not. Been there, done that, it doesn't work. You have to decide who you are, where you're going, how are you going to get there, and what things are you willing not to do to get there. That's success. Living true, living right, living noble, living pure. Those things are the things we should be reaching for, not compromising those things to try to get more of something that is destroying you. You might think I'm a prude, or you might agree. I'd love to hear your opinion about our oversexed society. We've got Jessica from the oversexed state of Nevada, the oversexed city of Las Vegas.
Oh, yes, you're so right about that, Dani. And it just makes me sick to see, all the billboards. Yeah. I never thought anything was wrong with it before until I met you.
Really?
Yeah. I never thought. I thought I was one that said, we can't do anything about it. That's just how it's going to be. And now I want to get out of here because it makes me sick to my stomach just to see the billboards and just to see like kids walking down the street with their parents and they're exposed to these things. And yeah, just I thought it was completely okay, and now I stand in complete agreement with you that this should not be the way society is today.
Jessica, I got to dig into your head a little bit. First of all, I'm so blessed to talk to you right now. But can you help me understand the person that is out there that thinks that it's okay and it's no big deal? Did you not have children?
No, not yet.
Okay, so that's one thing. So something usually, but again, there's mom and dad with their 3 kids walking down the street. You know what I mean? And they're surrounded by pornography everywhere. But so in that case, mom and dad, it didn't happen to them. And when I had my kids, it was like, oh my gosh, I don't want them to turn out the way I was at all. You know what I mean? So I probably flipped the other way a little bit. But when we continue after this break, Jessica, I want to ask you some questions about what brought you to that place of it doesn't matter, it's okay, there's nothing we could do about it, and then what caused it to change? Like, what shifted in your mind to make you go, this is not cool? So think about that as we cut over to this break, because I really want to know what's in the mind of us that causes us to think that all of this over-sexual content, from selling Doritos to car oil to houses to straight up selling sex, that we think it's no big deal. I want to get into that mindset of why it's no big deal. And then obviously, Jessica, you had a switch in your mind. I want to know what like made the switch happen, because that's very fascinating to me. This is Dani Johnson. If you want long-term success, you have to learn not to compromise, and you have to open your eyes and see what's going on and stand for something. We'll continue with more of the Dani Johnson Show right after this.
Working to achieve happiness in life is not easy. Advice, life stories from callers on the air, solutions, a beacon of hope. Stay tuned for more of the Dani Johnson Show.
Call now, 888-757-8880. I'm going to send you our report on how to feed your family on $100 a week. Get this hot thing in your hand now, and you can begin to save hundreds of dollars just on your food bill. No clipping coupons, no way. I'm talking about simple little things that still, even my position, I'm still able to feed my family on $100 a week or less. You are going to learn how to do the same thing. 888-757-8880. Call now. Get your copy of this report.
Helping you get a grip on your priorities and your focus. The Dani Johnson Show. Here's Dani Johnson.
I will never forget the first time that I encountered a pornographic situation. And I remember being so enticed by it, right? Just like being sucked into it and not even thinking. It's as though my mind shut off and my body just said, yes. Yes. Have you ever been in that situation? And then there is, of course, the aftermath, the feelings of dirty inside. And I don't know if that was a good idea. But then there we are again. I'm telling you, pornography and sexual imagery all over TV, movies, inside of books. Oh my goodness, there's novels that we can read that have just so much sexual content in it that it just causes our mind to now create the scene inside of our minds. And it seems to be okay that our kids see it on cartoons and video games, watching the Super Bowl with all of those seductive commercials. Yeah. Not to mention, I'll never forget this time. It was in 2001. You know, you remember her. Janet Jackson with her so-called wardrobe failure. This was a planned failure. This was not a failure. It's unfortunately what America wants. Kind of shows us who we are, doesn't it? Shows us our character. Joining me right now, one of our callers from Las Vegas, Las Vegas, Nevada, I think the most overly sexed society in the United States of America. She said that once she thought it was no big deal, that there was pornography all over the place. She thought it was no big deal, but then she had a change of heart. So, Jessica, I asked you a question right before we went to the break. So tell me, what is the mind of the person who thinks it's okay that, there's a family walking down the street in Las Vegas and we've got all of these gentlemen club, all these pornography, all these banners, this Mustang Ranch stuff, women that are dressed completely seductively in front of our 4-year-old little boy, in front of our 5-year-old little girl. You thought there was nothing wrong with it. Tell me why. Tell me why you thought there was no big deal.
Thinking back to it, it started off from home. We were able to watch pretty much anything that we wanted to. So I would have to say it's the media. And then another thing was finding pornography magazines at home.
Yeah.
When my parents talked about, pornography is not good, but yet I still see it.
In the bathroom. Yep.
No, actually it was hidden. But, curious little kid.
Yeah.
Went sneaking around to find stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's what I found. And that kind of made me wonder, like, you say this, but yet you do another.
Wow.
So then from there up to my teenage years, it was like the feeling of being wanted and being accepted and feeling of wanting to be loved.
Yeah.
So I searched through guys, through other teenage boys, like trying to find love there.
Yeah.
And then the switch happened actually at First Steps to Success, and seeing that what I needed was God to feel fulfilled.
Yes.
And I thank you so much for that, because if it would have not been for that, my eyes would have still been diluted till today.
Yeah. And I believe that he plants that in us, the desire to be wanted and the desire to be accepted so that we will find him. And if we're raised in an environment where there's so much compromise, right? Look, Mom and Dad said pornography was bad, but they had pornography magazines in the home. They said that pornography is bad and these images are bad, but they allowed you to watch anything you wanted to watch on television. They didn't censor anything, and they didn't train your mind to think differently. And so, all of a sudden the switch turns on and we want to be wanted. And I want to ask you something. So during those high school years of having sex with all kinds of different boys, how did you really feel about that?
It still made me want more.
Yeah.
And deep inside, it made me realize, like, now that I look back, it's like I was empty on the inside.
Yeah.
I felt like I was fulfilled back then, but really it just made me want more, and it spiraled into being promiscuous.
Yes.
After that,
Yeah.
Because I just wanted more and more and more.
Yeah. Did you ever have a problem with pornography?
Actually, yeah. And it started when I was young.
Yeah.
Very young. But then it died off after a while. Mm-hmm. So it's not like an addiction.
Right.
I guess maybe it was more curiosity, and I always watched pornography.
Yep. Yep. And obviously seeing those images just draws you into more sex, and it is, you're never satisfied. Is what happens, is that you're never, ever satisfied. All right, so you came to First Steps to Success, and you found that, I need God.
Yeah.
He's the only one that can satisfy me. So how has your life changed since then?
Tremendously. I was an atheist.
You were an atheist?
Yeah. I was actually raised Catholic, and then things happened, and I turned atheist. And I said, there's no God. And I didn't want anything to do with religion at all.
I don't blame you.
And then going to First Steps, creating a dynasty, and then spilling it over and into my marriage. And my husband is very much he says he's Buddhist. He was never raised to go to church and whatnot, and I just prayed about it, and I constantly prayed and prayed and prayed more that he would be led to God and find Christ, and slowly he's opening up.
Wow.
And he talks about, and he actually now asks me to pray for him, and it's like, wait a minute, what? So it's like, oh my gosh, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Dani, thank you to everyone who's prayed over him and over us.
Yes.
So
And we do.
He's coming around.
We
Yeah.
do. We pray every day for all of our clients and all of our Facebook friends. We pray for them. Jessica, man, my heart is so touched that you were an atheist and you came to a business, finance, and relationship seminar and you met Jesus there. You gave your life to him and you found satisfaction. And now, through your love for him, that's drawing your husband to him as well. I'm really so touched by your story, and I'm really blessed by what you shared about the pornography thing, and that now you stand for what's pure, for what's good, for what's noble, instead of falling for the seductions of our world that say, pornography's all right, it's no big deal, let your kids see it all. Yeah, no. I love that you've got moral convictions now. I'm really proud of you, Jessica. Thanks so much for calling in and sharing that story. I'm totally shocked by what you said. Wow, so awesome. We've got Lori on the phone from West Palm Beach, Florida. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, can you hear me, Dani?
Yeah, perfectly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate it. It's actually my first time calling in, so I'm kind of excited to be on with you. But I'm a divorced mom. I've been divorced for 4 years, and so being back on the dating scene, it's been very eye-opening because I was married for about 8 years and divorced, well, now 4 years, and it's been very challenging to go out in the dating scene. It was very different when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
I'll be 41 next month, and I also have a 7-year-old daughter. So as a single mom, I have to set a really good example for her as well. And, not just for myself, but also for her. She's watching. I've shut off TV, and that's all because of information that I learned at like First Steps and plugging in and everything. I don't have time for that nonsense. And most of it is really garbage. And it distracts me from what my true goals are. And I try to avoid her watching as much as possible, but sometimes it's difficult, and YouTube is so accessible, and she will watch stuff, and you get these little ads as she's watching like a little cartoon or whatever it is on TV or on YouTube, and it's definitely challenging for me because I've got to get.
Well, and YouTube has no filters on it, man. I mean, kids can find pornography. I mean, full-on pornographic videos on YouTube so easily. And the pornographers target certain keywords so that your kids will find it. I don't know if you know this, but there was a study that had shown this where pornographers actually were trying to figure out how to increase their sales, and they figured that if they can get the women and the children involved, it would exponentially grow their sales, and it did. So they literally target women and children because if they can get the children hooked when they're young, they have a lifetime customer. And the lifetime value of that customer is just thousands upon thousands of dollars. So they literally are targeting your little girl who is 7 years old, and they are targeting her on YouTube. They're targeting her on your smartphone. For her. Now, you heard the story that you just heard with Jessica, right? She found the pornography magazines, and that began the path of being involved with pornography for a long time. That then led to her being incredibly promiscuous and coming to a place where she became an atheist. From all of that pain brought her to the place to say there is no God. You be careful with YouTube. I want to ask you a question. We have to take a break right now. We're going to continue here in just one moment. But I want to ask you the difference. When you think back to when you were 21 on the dating scene, now you're 41 on the dating scene. What has changed in you, right? Are you dressing a little different than you did back then? Just a couple questions I have concerning that. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Stay tuned for more of The Dani Johnson Show. Life! It's about the journey. Are you living the life you want to live? Is it going the way you want it to go? Don't live your life by default. Live by going the way you want to go. Dani can help you with your roadmap to life. The Dani Johnson Show.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
And now, back to more of the Dani Johnson Show.
Dani Johnson, you're such a prude. You're right. I'll wear that hat, no problem. At least I stand for something. What do you stand for? Listen, as a business consultant, as an author, as a mom of 5, and a grandmother of 7, I've learned along the way through mostly failures, not through successes, but I've learned through failures, that we're always going to encounter compromises in our life. We're going to face compromise. We're going to look it right in the eyes, and we're going to have to make a decision. What will I stand for? And for you to have success, you have got to define in advance what you stand for. Because if you don't, you'll fall for just about anything. And our culture has fallen for all kinds of stuff. Listen, in our culture, we use sex to sell potato chips. We use sex to sell coffee. In this culture, we use sex to sell clothing. We use sex to sell cars. We use sex to sell television shows. We use sex to sell books. We use sex to sell food. Man, do we use sex to sell food. We use sex to sell travel. We use sex to sell everything. Why? Because sex sells. Look at how compromised we've become as a people. You see, back in the 50s, they would not allow Elvis Presley to be shown from the waist down as he was dancing to his music. They thought it was inappropriate. Whereas today, we have cartoons and we have children's movies where we've got cartoon characters that have a 42 bust, a 21-inch waist, and a 36 hip, wearing barely any clothing on these particular characters. We also have channels that are all set aside for kids that are completely targeted to begin putting images in their minds concerning sex. And it's working so well that 1 in 4 teenage girls have at least one STD. 1 in 4. If you got 4 daughters, it's a good chance one of yours might have the STD and you might not even know about it. Our teen pregnancy rates are out of control. We have failing relationships. We have kids that are failing all over the place. And we also have high suicide rates in the United States, Canada, and all over Europe. And we can't figure out why. I believe we have led our families astray due to compromise and compromising morals. We are decaying. And I know that is like a common theme that's being talked about. But what does that equate to your business, finance, and family success? It equates to everything. You cannot be a compromiser in your personal life and expect not to be a compromiser in your business life. You want to succeed in every area of your life, you've got to be one that stands for what is right. Joining me right now is Lori from West Palm Beach, Florida. And she was just talking about that she's recently divorced for the last 4 years and that the dating scene today versus when she was 21 is a little different. I want some more information on that. That's some juicy stuff right there. So Lori, how is it? We're in this crazily sexed, overly sexed society. You're 41 years old and you're dating now. You have a 7-year-old daughter. You said that it's very different than when you were 21. Well, did you dress different when you were 21 going on dates?
I did, and part of the reason is also because I was much heavier at that point, and since then I've actually lost quite a bit of weight, so I can wear things now that I was never really able to feel comfortable in before. Mm-hmm. But I am actually, because I'm a businesswoman, I'm a professional, I really try to set the standard, not just for my daughter, but for myself, because I don't want anybody getting the wrong idea, and it's remarkably different, though, because when I was 21, I was back in college, and a lot of things happened in college. But I was.
What were a lot of things that happened in college, Lori?
Well, I mean, just like the parties, and I went to a pretty big party school, and actually I went to 2 big party schools because I got my master's at a different school, and there was a lot of opportunity, let's say, for contact with men. Yeah. And but I really, for the most part, I think compared to a lot of my friends, I was actually pretty conservative, and I grew up that way. It wasn't really talked about, and so I felt very uncomfortable in a lot of respects when it came to men. And I actually got a lot more, let's say, promiscuous as I was a little bit older, coming out of a marriage. That's kind of where I let things loose a little bit more, and now, tuning back in for the last year, I've actually gotten back to my conservative ways because I have a responsibility not only to myself but to set an example for my daughter.
Yeah.
And that to me is what my life has really become, is not just what's right for me, is to set the standard for her to make sure that she doesn't grow up in that type of environment.
So when you became promiscuous, when you became promiscuous after your marriage, after the failed marriage, During that season, how did you really feel as a human, as a woman?
Well, in some respects, it gave me a little bit more confidence because I was so conservative, just because I had lost quite a bit of weight, and so that gave me a lot more confidence. And it left me kind of open.
Then why did you stop being? Then why did you stop being promiscuous? Because you had your daughter then.
Yeah, because I kind of got slapped across the face when it came to coming to first steps and realizing that I've got to put God first, and I've got to set an example. Like I can't be walking around teaching my daughter one thing and doing something different, and I have to have that respect for myself to show her what the right way to grow up is. And it's a very society. I've been on dates where men just cannot keep their hands off of you, and I'm just like, we're in the middle of a Starbucks, and I'm like, ew, get away from me. Like, that's disgusting. You got to be joking. We're in public. And first date, first meeting, and I was just so put off by that. And all he kept saying to me is, how far do you live from here? And I'm like, dude,
ew,
back off. And of course, I never heard from the guy again, but it was just very awkward and uncomfortable. And in that regard, I felt very put off by even dating. I'm like, how am I going to find a guy to come into my house, even just to meet my daughter and to possibly bring in as a future husband for myself and a future father or stepfather for my daughter? Where am I going to find that? Are all men like this?
Lori, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you on this. I want you to think about this. Okay? I want you to think about this. I want you to pray about this because you said that you want to put God first. I want you to think and pray about your daughter is 7, and you only have less than 11 years left with her. And that's going to go so fast, Lori. You're a single mom, so you're working, right, to provide for your little baby girl. And this time that you have with her is so limited. Consider not making her compete with another relationship. Consider putting off dating for another 10 years. Wait till she's grown. Wait till she's an adult. And just consider being her mom and just building that relationship with her. And then once she's grown, then you have the freedom to go and find a man if you even want to at that point. You don't need a man to define you. You're not lesser of a woman if you don't have a man in your life. Your identity is not in a man. Let God be your husband until that daughter is gone, and then decide whether or not you want to do that. Because it complicates. She's going to have to compete with some other person in her life. And if you and her dad were married, she wouldn't be competing with another man. Do you know what I mean? It would just be the two of you. So why not just consider and pray about, let me just leave it as me and her dad in her life, and our life is what it is. So just consider it, just pray about it, because it does get complicated, and it is very, very risky bringing somebody else into her life, especially now at 7. Thanks so much for joining me, Lori. Thank you so much for joining you today. I appreciate you so much. That's it for the Dani Johnson Show. We'll talk to you tomorrow with another topic that will help you to succeed.
We want to thank you for listening to the Dani Johnson Show. We hope you found inspiration, answers, and hope to renew your happiness in life. Join us again on the next Dani Johnson Show.
I remember being homeless and broke and broken in every way, and being overloaded with financial pressure, the pressure that I was a failure, the social pressure, everything that I felt like was crashing down on top of me. And at the same time, I felt so alone until I learned the strategies of first steps to success. You have the chance, my friend, to annihilate all of your debt. Think about that. You have the chance to grow your income through your current career, or even learning to start a brand new business that will be profitable. You also have the chance for learning how to motivate the people that are in your life that are driving you crazy, and how to have significant breakthrough, not only spiritually, but physically, financially, and socially, and business-wise. And so I'm excited to see you at First Steps to Success. It's coming up January 17th through the 19th. Get yourself registered today, 888-757-8880. There's a seat with your name on it, friend. 888-757-8880.